I thought I got a countdown with this sucker. Yeah. Hey, it's Thursday. You know what time it is? Time for the Dad Next Door. Hi, I'm Jason, aka the Dad Next Door, and I have a pretty interesting guest coming up next. It's going to be pretty interesting to talk about his past career. I know mine was kind of cool, but his is a lot cooler. And as you can see, the title kind of reflects that too. A little the next dad, or I'm sorry, the inside dad. That was a referral to sort of his career. But anyway, let me get to it. I'm going to take you into the show. Thanks for coming tonight. Can't wait to get this thing started. Let's go. Be right back.
Fatherhood. It's how we keep our tribes and families strong. You've landed in the right place if you're ready for dad jokes, tips, and tricks on fun parenting. Also with interviews with some of the coolest dad entrepreneurs we could track down and have them share their strategies to tackling it all in business and life on the Dad Next Door. And now, your host, Mr. Dad Jokes himself, Jason Centeno.
Say hi, Nana.
You ain't shy.
They don't show you it in action because things like this.
Oh, fix it. Fix it.
I love Daddy. He's a superhero. I don't know what are you heroes. I know.
That ending, though, man, that's my favorite. So, got to adjust this little screen. There you go. New technology. As you can see, we got this really cool little template going. Thanks, Manny, again, for helping me out with that. So enough about me. Jeremy Nix. We met on Clubhouse, and now, little story. Do you want to tell the story? This is your show. No.
You tell the story. You get it started. It's fine.
All right. So we met on an app called Clubhouse app. And it was a group about people that were addicted to Clubhouse. So it's called CAA. And we all got to talking in there. We were just joking and just saying how it's kind of taken over our lives in a joking way. But what was funny about Jeremy is he was kind of doing running commentary of all the things in his life that were interfering with his Clubhouse time. And I can't do it as well as he did, but it just made me laugh. So anyway, long story short, we got to talking off of Instagram, and come to find out, he's a dad, he's an entrepreneur, and I'm just gonna let him tell you, how he took and he left his 9-to-5, he escaped his 9-to-5, something that's a common theme with every entrepreneur, and how he did it and why. And I'm just gonna let him tell you the story of what inspired him to become a full-time entrepreneur. So, Jeremy, take us through it. Like, tell us what you used to do, and how that came to be where you were just like, enough, I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur, and now you're doing it.
Yeah. So first of all, it's really cool to meet people in these social worlds, and you actually get to meet them instead of it just being the stream that you're liking and commenting on things and you never really actually talk to them. So I was really excited when we got to connect through Clubhouse. And if you're not on Clubhouse, you should get on there as soon as you can get an invite, because it's a lot of fun. And so I have been in the 9-to-5 world since I was 16 years old. And I remember having a conversation with my dad the first time I went to get a job, to give you a little insight as to what my mindset was, my upbringing was, how I viewed what it meant to be a man and what it meant to work. I remember having the first conversation. I wanted to get a job. I was 16 years old and I wanted to work at this little place called Foster Freeze Jr. right by my house. And my dad said, "Son, I don't want you to get a job." I said, "Well, I want a job. I want to work. I want to earn some money and, do things." And he said, "Here's the thing about being a man. Once you get your first job, you will always go to work the rest of your life, because you're going to get used to the money. And the way you make money is you have to go to work. You're going to have to find one job and then find another job. You're going to keep having to find jobs. And my dad, I was raised that way. And then he raised me that way, that you go get a traditional job and that's what you do. And so from the age of 16 until now 43, that was my mindset, is like traditional work is what you're supposed to do. And I've done lots of things. I literally had 16 jobs between the ages of 16 and 20, because I knew in my mind I wasn't supposed to stop working, but nothing ever satisfied me. There was something missing from every job I would get. And I've done everything. I worked at a radio station. I worked at a investment banking firm at 18 years old. I did all kinds of things. And then as time went on, I was just more and more discontent with the 9-to-5, with the regular work. And I was always doing something to kind of up the ante. How can I find something that will fulfill me, like that I won't get bored with? And so I was a pastor at one point, and I did that for 14 years and kind of settled into that, even though it really wasn't what drove me. It wasn't what I loved, I thought. And so just over a decade ago, I came to my wife, who has been so patient with her husband, who's constantly dreaming, but then sticking to tradition, because tradition is what we do. We got to provide. We got to take care of the family, give them the life that they're supposed to have. And then we go just slave away at work. And I came to her and I said, I want to go into public service. I want to become a first responder. And she was once again supportive. And so just over a decade ago, I jumped into law enforcement, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was adventurous. It didn't feel traditional. It felt like every day was something new, and I was experiencing new things. And then about 2 years in, I started to get that same tug again, that same like, it's monotonous. It's thankless. I'm not being with my family's going and doing things, and I can't, because I work these long shifts, and it was frustrating. And I was getting ready to quit when a supervisor asked me, hey, we have a special detail. I think you'd be perfect for this. A special assignment. I think you'd be perfect for it. And I said, well, what is it? And this is the part that you think is really cool. It's a really cool job. And it's where we get the inside dad. If you've ever watched the movie Inside Man, I was offered the opportunity to audition, because you literally have to audition for it, to audition for the role of a hostage negotiator and crisis negotiator, someone who shows up on the scene to either a suicidal subject, a subject who's barricaded in their home, a subject who is being served on a major warrant and is going to go to prison for a really long time and says, I'm not coming out, or a subject who has a person who has, I'll just say it this way, has had a really bad day and is now holding a lot of people hostage with him. And I came to life again. I loved it. It was one of the greatest jobs I've ever had. And I was having a blast. It came with some really cool perks, and it came with some really bad disadvantages, like being on call every day for an entire month, and knowing that at any moment I'm driving out at 2 a.m. I'm driving out an hour to get to some bridge somewhere to talk somebody down off the bridge, and being away from my family. And it came with things like not being able to leave town when you're on call. So I still wasn't feeling like I was living my life, but I was living an adventure, and nothing that traditional work had ever given me was an adventure. And so
how did that affect? I'm sorry, I didn't mean. So that schedule, right? What was your schedule? Was it like always on call, or was it like 24 hours straight? Like, so, because that affects family life a lot too. So what was your particular schedule?
So my schedule was every other month, and mine was even months. So this included Christmas. Every other month, 30 days on straight, 100% on call. And then I had my normal duties. And I worked in a non-patrol environment. I had my normal duties for the rest of the time. So I still worked anywhere from, I averaged about 10-hour days, Monday through Friday. So I did get my weekends on my off calls. I got my weekends. So I worked Monday through Friday, 10-hour days. And then I was on call. So it was very common to get home at 4 and then leave at 4 to go out to a call out where I'd be out there for another 8 hours. So that's kind of what, so you're right. It not only did it take me away from family just because, it also caused me to miss out on, I couldn't even plan to do things with family on months, because I knew that dad's going to make a plan, but there's a good chance that dad's going to be gone. And that's just the nature of the job.
Yeah. So you're missing out on traditional stuff in exchange for this, being a civil servant. People don't get that. Like, if it's July 4th, they call you, you got to go. If it's the middle of the night, you got to go. And sometimes you have people cover you and sometimes you don't. I got to see that scramble firsthand with the fire marshals when I was in the fire department. But yeah, it kind of, they call it the duty guy. It kind of sucks when that's your duty and you got that pager, because like you said, there's prestige of it. There's just prestige in the look. And then there's the actual reality of it, and it blows. I mean, to be honest with you. So don't want to take you too far away from the story, but do you want to share the one you shared with me about the guy, like the PTSD that you got from this particular one thing?
Yeah. So people don't know how it works. One of the things you got to know about negotiations, if you like, I always use the Denzel Washington example, because that's kind of what I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be like Denzel Washington, and the negotiator is going to show up, one dude, throw on a vest, walk into the bank, and just be like, "I'm here to talk to you." And it does not work that way. They don't let you go into the bank, but it's actually a full team. And when you are asked to interview, it's not a guarantee. They don't give you any training when you interview. All the training, because they have to invest a lot of money in you. So they're not going to invest in you unless they think you're going to do well. So you have to audition without any heads up, without any training. And the way that it works is you show up to your interview thinking you're going to answer questions like any normal job interview. And instead, you actually walk into a role-playing scenario where we had two different scenarios where you become the negotiator and you have to talk someone out or down. And in my first negotiation ever in my life, now I've learned since then, and this is one of the things I work with guys on a lot, is everything in life is a negotiation. But this first negotiation that I really thought about it was a man on a bridge who refused to talk to anybody and kept leaning over the bridge. And that was I got there, they said, "All right, here's the parameters, go." And these guys are like professionals at what they do. They've been in the business a long time, so they know how to play the role. I got there, this guy wouldn't talk to me. The only thing he would say to me was, "Go away." Wouldn't look at me, would not do anything. And I talked for what seemed like an hour. And I'm like, I know my job is to talk. I got to talk to this guy. I got to talk to him down. I've seen the movies. I know you just never say no, and you always just talk and be happy. And so that's what I did. I was, "Hey, no, I'm here. I'm here to help you," and talk to him for what literally seemed like an hour. I found out later it was literally 3 minutes. 3 minutes, but it felt like an hour. And at the end, he still never talked to me. Then they moved me right over to another negotiation. We went through that one. It was a man who had barricaded himself inside the house with his wife, who he had been abusing. And at the end of that one, he ends up shooting his wife and himself. That was my two scenarios: a guy who refused to come off a bridge and he never did, and a guy who, in my mind, I caused him to shoot himself. Come to find out later, you never win either of those scenarios. That's part of the interview process. But I thought I had done pretty well. For a guy who'd never been trained, I thought I'd done pretty well. So I went through the interview and walked out feeling really confident. I contacted my supervisor who had recommended me for the job. I said, "Thank you so much. I think I did really good." And about a week went by, didn't get a call, didn't know what was going on. Did I get the job? Did I not get the job? And so I went back to the supervisor and I said, "Hey, what's going on? When do we find out? How do we know?" She goes, "Well, do you really want to know how you did?" And I said, "Well, of course." And I was confident. I mean, they recommended me. So I know how to talk, which was my problem. And I didn't realize this at the time, but that was my problem. And I said, "Yeah, I want to know. I'm sure I feel like I did great." And she goes, "Well, you remember that guy on the bridge?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, he's been a negotiator for about 20 years. He's seen a lot of things and done a lot of things. The issue we're having right now is his statement to the hiring team was that if in real life, had you showed up to the bridge and he had really been suicidal, he would have jumped because of you. Like, he did not want to be near you. He did not like you." So that was my first introduction to what it feels like to be a negotiator. Talk about an ego shot. So fast forward, I actually did get on the team. They selected me and I did get on the team. They sent me to the training. They gave me some grace, sent me to the training. And then a few years go by and you go to a lot of negotiations before you ever really you are the negotiator. So I had been the negotiator a few times and been working the team for a while. I get a call I think it was right after a summer event. It was in the summer. And I was coming with my wife. I'm like, man, it's been a crazy month. I haven't had one call out. This has been nice. Before we could get in the door, like that's you just don't say that stuff in this business. Before we could get in the door, my work phone rings. Hey, we got a guy on a bridge. We need you to come out. So I'm driving out, and there's 7 of us on the team, and I happen to be the first one there. So I get there, and my partner gets there right after me, of the 7 of us, and the team lead is there, and he looks and he says, all right, go do what you do. This guy won't talk to anybody. He's been up here for about 45 minutes. He won't talk to anybody. If we get near him, he moves away, and he's on the edge of the bridge. Now, this bridge is 10 feet in on this bridge is fatal. No matter what you do, it's fatal. And when they say on the edge of the bridge, he was on the outside railing, and it was probably maybe the railing, the place where he was standing, probably had 6 inches of footing where he was putting his feet. And he'd already been out there 30 minutes, wouldn't talk to anybody. And I'm the negotiator. Go do what you do, he says. Go save a life. Literally, my team leader says, go do what you do and save a life. And I went, I remember the last time I did this, I made the guy want to jump. Talk about PTSD. And all I could think in my mind is, I don't know what to do. I froze. I was nervous, but we got out there, and in the middle of it all, we talked for 6 hours, and he almost fell 4 times. 6 hours, he almost fell 4 times as we talked to this guy. And it was probably one of my favorite negotiations I was ever a part of, because in the midst of him not talking, and this was the biggest thing I learned from the time I tried out to the time I became a negotiator, in the midst of him not talking, he was saying a lot. And it came down to, at one point, my partner was talking to him because we were out there together. Partner was talking to him, and we found out he had a son. Talk about the dad next door. We found out this guy had a son, and he actually was driving to our town because he was going to pick up his son for a really cool weekend at an amusement park. And when my partner asked him the question, hey, what do you like to do with your son? He didn't respond, and my partner started to go forward. But at that time, I was the role of secondary negotiator, which we are doing the looking. We're watching for what is being said. And I noticed he kind of gave a little thumbs up. That was it. He just kind of went like this, changed his posture, gave his thumbs up, stopped my partner in that moment and said, ask him again about his son. From that point on, he began to turn and look at us. He began to give us thumb gestures, thumbs up, thumbs down. He would respond that way. He started to laugh. Pretty soon we were having conversations about other things. We were talking about his boy. What was he worried about? What was he concerned about? And after 6 hours, he actually came off that bridge finally on his own free will. We didn't go get him, stepped off the bridge, came over and actually gave us hugs. 3 dudes in the middle of the bridge, 2 o'clock in the morning. He's giving us hugs, all because we heard what he was saying when he didn't say a thing. And so it was PTSD, yes, but it was also like such a reward to know that you can grow past those painful moments in your life and actually accomplish something cool. So that's what I did as a negotiator. Did you have questions about that, man? You do.
You kind of answered one when you said he was laughing. And I always wondered, like, is that a tactic? Is that an approved tactic? Because, I mean, for me, I think that trying to make someone laugh is probably that's getting them. That's like getting them engaged, right? So, a corny dad joke. I mean, I probably should never be a negotiator, but I'd be trying to do that a lot just to kind of, get them to crack somehow. But I mean, is that approved? Is what I'm saying. Is that like a tactic that they say, yeah, try?
So what we use in negotiations is it's something that I think every man who has a family should learn, and it's called the influence ladder. So we use the influence ladder, and that basically is you start with active listening, you build rapport, and as you build rapport, you're able to move up the line of the ladder to influence. And that rapport building is where you spend the majority of your time, is getting that likability between the two of you. How did 2 guys who have nothing in common, right? And then suddenly we say in negotiations that our job is to take a hostile situation and build trust. That's what we do. So it's not that we're trying to make someone laugh, but as trust gets built and there becomes this rapport, things happen. I've been on a lot of negotiations where the negotiator and the subject on the other end of the phone, or however it's working, have moments of this, like, it doesn't feel like we're in the middle of a crisis. It feels like two guys talking. And so that's kind of what happened on the bridge. I mean, he laughed on the bridge, but he was still not ready to come down. And he laughed about things like, at one point, to give you an example, it wasn't that we were making jokes, but at one point, a giant owl flies by his head. And we actually were nervous because that bridge was so narrow, and he ducked as the owl flew by his head. And then he popped back up. He settled. We're like, "Are you okay?" And then my partner yelled over to him and said, "Hey," I'm going to call him Mark, by the way. He said, "Hey, Mark, when the owls are flying by our head, it's probably time for us to go home. It's probably time for us to be done." And he laughed. He goes, "Yeah, I think you're right. It's probably about time." He didn't come off the bridge for another hour and a half. But it's those kind of things. It's just building rapport, causes that camaraderie, and then allows us to kind of laugh together. I think now I got a partner who's really funny, and he's made a lot of people laugh while they're literally held up in a house, not wanting to come out, knowing they're going to go to prison for years. I've watched him make people laugh. That's just his personality.
So now, you're no longer doing that job. I'm pretty sure you missed pieces of it, but you're still changing lives. So I guess tell us, okay, what's your big why? I mean, you left, you did explain to me, you had to speak to your spouse about that. That's always the toughest part. Hey, I'm ready to do this thing, and just getting that approval, because not everybody asks for approval. We're dads, and sometimes men will just, hey, I'm doing this, and then drag everybody along with them. So, but whatever path you took there, your reason why had to be a pretty big one. So I guess share that with us. Was why did you decide to leave your pension, or maybe not your pension, but benefits and prestige and like an exciting job, to go off and just venture off on your own as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. So about 5 years into the job, I always thought I was kind of invincible, but about 5 years into the job, I found myself feeling pretty depressed, feeling pretty down. As you know, from what you did in your life, pre-entrepreneurialism, this type of work, it weighs heavy on you. And it was weighing heavy on me, and I didn't even realize it was weighing heavy on me. And it was actually causing me to be heavy. And that'll make sense in a second. I was literally physically getting heavier. And my habits, my health were all completely they're all out of whack. They're all out of line. And so I was in the middle. I actually got into a physical fight with somebody that work that had robbed a bank. And it sounds really cool, except for I lost the fight, and I almost got killed. And a citizen, you don't ever want to be the cop that's like,
something changed. I can't get my ass whipped. That's wrong.
No, we had the only good thing that happened that day is our helicopter was overhead and trying to get people to come cover me, and they forgot to turn on the recorder, so nobody sees what really happened there when that guy really had me. So, but a citizen stepped in and actually saved my life, and I remember calling my wife, because in that world, you're trained for the fight for your life. And one of the things they tell you is, in those moments, you have to picture your family, and you have to decide, I'm coming home. I'm going to be home. And in that moment for me, I did see my two sons. I got two boys. They're both teenagers in high school now, but they were younger at the time. And I did picture them, and I did picture my wife, and I didn't think I was coming home. And I just couldn't muster it. I was so out of shape, was so heavy. I just couldn't keep up. And that guy saved my life, that citizen. So I called my wife, who was a fitness instructor at the time. And I said, I got to do something, because I can't do this anymore. I can't go to work not knowing if I'm going to come home. And so I went on this journey to lose weight. And so I followed her fitness plan. I did all this stuff. And after 6 weeks, I gained 4 pounds. I was really mad. Like, I was so angry. And so I was like, this is not working. And so I had to find something else. And in December of 2016, that's when I discovered a program that helped me. And I got my habits together. And when I got my habits together nutritionally, I began to lose weight. But what was more powerful than that is, in the midst of me getting healthy physically, and I say this all the time, that health craves health. So as I was physically getting healthier, and a lot of guys, we just miss this. We're like, I'm good. I don't mind having the dad bod. I'm fine. But it affects other parts of our life, whether we know it or not. And as I was physically getting healthy, my mind, I began to crave more emotional health. And long story short, my teenager, he was 13 at the time. He's now a senior in high school. I'm driving home from football, and we're laughing because I wear the same size clothes that he does. I'd lost 35 pounds at the time. And so I'd never weighed this weight since my wife didn't even know me at this weight. And so I'm telling him about how I'm going to wear his clothes and make him embarrassed at school. And he got real serious, and he looks at me and he goes, "Dad, I am so glad you did this." And I'm just a dad, so a little slow on the uptake, trying to make my son laugh. And I missed it. And I'm like, "What do you mean? You're glad I lost weight?" And he stayed real serious, and he looked at me and he said, "No, I'm glad you got better." And I didn't answer. I just listened. He goes, "Because I'm not scared to mess up in front of you anymore." So if you know by talking to me a little bit here, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I jokingly used to say, I'm barely a cop, but we'll have a good time. That's what I used to say to people when we work and stuff. And in that moment, when he said that to me, I walked into my house. We had just got to the house. I walked into my house and I said, I told my wife, "This is what Cameron just said to me." And I was a mess. I was crying. Like, I didn't know my son was scared of me. And she goes, "Yeah, we've all felt that way about you. This has been really nice." And in that moment, I decided that I wanted to do something to help men whose wives didn't want to be around them and whose kids were scared of them. And I went down this journey of starting to coach men into health like I had been coached in health and helping. And so at my location where I was stationed, I began to help guys. Some guys need to lose weight. Some guys didn't, but I helped them all with their habits. And I just began to do that. And I became very passionate about that. Pretty soon my wife joined me in that, and we began to do that together. So for the last 3.5 years, we were doing that while I was working, and we built this business of coaching people into healthy habits. And it began to provide for our family and all these things. It was great, but I was still a cop. And I used to jokingly say, I'm one bad day away from retirement. And the thing that kept me there, before I tell you what pushed me out, the thing that kept me there was that voice in the back of my head that said, the traditional job is what you'll always do. Jeremy, once you start working, you'll always go to work. And the idea of leaving the security of a pension, the security of a 9-to-5 job, or for in my case, a lot longer, but the security of a job that's kind of, you go to work, you got a boss, they send you that paycheck that comes into the deposit every 2 weeks. The idea of leaving that to pursue what I loved it didn't seem wise. It seemed foolish, even though us coaching people was actually paying all the bills. I had stopped taking extra overtime. But in my mind, you can't just give this up. This is security. You can't give up security. And it's not right. Men are supposed to go to work. We go to work. And so I say that to say, I've been entrepreneurial this whole time. I've been passionate about helping men achieve their goals and their dreams without sacrificing their lives. That's my big statement, is I help men achieve their dreams without sacrificing their lives. And yet I was sacrificing my life while trying to chase my dream. And I didn't even realize it. So 2020 hit, and that's what changed. In 2020, because of COVID, because of the things that were going on, I lost my position because they had to reposition us. I was sent back to patrol. I still had to do the negotiations, but I was also sent back to patrol. I ended up having to work, which it's part of the job. I'm not complaining, and people have every right to protest, but I had to go work at a protest. During that time, I took bricks to the head. I was injured. And I came home and I looked at my wife, once again in tears. I am a crybaby. I looked at my wife and I said, I think I've had my bad day. There's no traditional job that's worth what I'm feeling right now. This is not security. This is the illusion of security, because number one, they've already shown me they can take away my position anytime they want. Number two, I'm not secure. I could get hurt. I could die. Number three, what security is worth not being around your family because you got to go to work all the time? So in that moment, I said, I'm done. Now, I'd like to say I was super brave. I said I was done on May 31st of 2020. I resigned December 10th of 2020. And it took me some time to build in the confidence and the guts to go, yep, I'm out. And so Why I left is number one, the illusion of security is not worth wasting my life. I'm losing my life for what? Because people think I'm supposed to have a traditional job. And then number two, I am more passionate about helping people break free from the habits that are holding them back than I am about putting on some uniform and having this idea of being a hero. I'd much rather help other people be the heroes in their own life than to be the hero that gets seen showing up to a bridge or showing up to a house. So those are the two reasons I left, man. And that's why I've pursued just helping men find freedom in their own habits, in their own health, in their own mindset.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. So how did your family take this? Like, did you, when, you know, your wife knew and supported you, but did you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Was your dad an entrepreneur? Anybody in your family? Like, were they like, oh, you're crazy. This is the wrong time of the century to be doing something like this. How did they take it?
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. So my immediate family, my wife was so excited. She was so excited that when finally we were going to go after this thing together. She was so excited she wasn't going to worry about me coming home at night. So she was really excited about that. My oldest son really wants to be in law enforcement. That's a dream of his. And so he was disappointed because that meant he couldn't do a ride along with me. Isn't it funny how our kids think? Like, they're not thinking about anything else. He's like, that means I don't get to do a ride along with you.
Yeah, but you can always go back and tell one of your buddies, yo, let's take, I mean, you know, we all know we can get somebody to do that. So that's not even a thing.
Exactly. That was his big thing. My youngest son was like, cool, Dad, you're going to be around. And then he was homeschooling at the time because of we're not back in school here at all. And so he's like, great, you can help me with my homework. Like for him, it's just like, it was cool. And now he loves it because we do so much together that I missed out on that I didn't know about. So he's all about it. The rest of my family, because we all live pretty close, all of us, my sister, my parents, we all live really close to each other. They were quietly supportive without me knowing it. And what I mean by that is I thought they were completely against me. I thought like I was trying to defend my position about why I was getting ready to do this. I'm going to be okay financially. I mean, at one point, I literally pulled out the books to show my father. I am 43 years old, but I pulled out the books to show my father, look, I can show you that we can make it. I can do this. Look at the growth in my business. Look at these statements. And it wasn't until then he went, son, I'm not worried about that. I just see how excited and happy you are. I say, go for it. You're not me, and I don't want you to be me. Because in my mind, I was supposed to be just like my dad, who would have never taken, that wouldn't have been his thing. That's not, and he doesn't want me to be like him. He wants me to be me. He raised me to be me. And yet, even at 43, I was looking for that approval that I didn't need to have, number one. Number two, I actually already had it. So it was, so yes, my family was supportive, but they were quiet until I just came out and said, what are you thinking? What do you guys think?
Having the approval of your dad's always nice. And we don't always get that. Usually, but I mean, I don't know. I hear different stories. Some people don't have a dad, so they don't have that. But normally I would say the track seems to be, my dad was like that, so I was like that. So to hear that is interesting, but thank God he was supportive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's one weird, funny, amazing thing that people don't know about you that you don't mind sharing with us?
Okay, I will share it. Some people, it is not my proudest moment. I was on a
so this is what this is weird or funny. Which one is or crazy or amazing?
Kind of sad. It's sad. Let's just be honest. It's sad, but it is weird. It's unique. It's unique. So I was on a reality show on Disney Plus when I was literally the first show that launched on Disney Plus back in October. I think it was November or October 12th of 2019. And I was on the very first show that of their original series is that they launched on. It's called Encore. You probably haven't even seen it, but it's a Disney reality show. And it was one of the most humiliating things I've ever done. And it's completely my fault that it was humiliating. It's actually it's not a show that makes fun of people.
Now I have Disney, but like, what was it about? Because I don't recall that one.
So Disney Plus is a show put on by Kristen Bell, who she's in The Good Place, and she's also the voice of one of the characters on.
Yeah.
Come on, you got littles. You know this one. You got little kids.
I think she's Elsa or Anna, maybe Anna. Anna from
She's the one.
See, that is wrong that I know that. I should know about cars and oil changes and 8 horsepower, and I know about Disney Snow Princess cartoons. That's whatever. That's my life. Go
No,
ahead.
that's
Though.
your life. And here's the thing. It's not wrong that you know that, because wait till you hear what this show's about that I was on. So,
Right.
so Kristen Bell is extremely into theater, always has been. She loves to sing. She loves to do all those things. So what she decided to do was put together a reality show of high school students who at one time were in theater together in high school, and then they moved on with their lives. She brings them back together for a week, and they produce in 1 week a Broadway show that they did in high school from, in my case, 25 years earlier. And
So a drama school, drama club's high school reunion, basically.
pretty much, yep. And they tell your life story, and then they make you do the show, and you actually have to do it. And so I was pretty involved in high school. I did everything. Something people don't know about me as well as I had cancer when I was in high school. So I really was like, I don't know if I'm going to survive, so I'm giving it everything. And I did everything from football to drama. Figure out how you put those two together. It's only, but we did. And
Joe Namath.
there you go. Well,
Ballet. He was ballet. He wasn't acting. My bad.
and they do it in basketball. I saw High School Musical, the series. So they bring you back, you do this thing, and you kind of reunite with people that you haven't seen in a long time. When I left high school, I really did leave. Like, I hadn't hung out with these people in forever. And so they brought us back. We did the show. We were their premiere episode on the show. And so, yeah, so I had to sing, I had to dance, and all things I don't do well. And it was actually a really great experience. It's a unique experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but there's some humiliating moments on there for me.
So I could find this thing and make fun of you if
Absolutely could, and will not be the first one who did.
What was it called again? Because I'm writing it down.
Encore.
Encore on Disney Plus.
Yep.
All right, I'll be breaking balls about that shortly.
I know you will. We'll have to do a clubhouse room for reality.
Drama clubs. Yeah. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. All the ex reality show stars.
Right.
Hey, let's do it. Actually, I got 5 questions. They're really random, but just to kind of get your energy up again. So, are you ready for them?
I'm ready.
All right. Who do you admire the most?
Who do I admire the most? I actually am going to say I admire my dad the most. He came from nothing, had an abusive father in some regard. His only memory of his dad is being kidnapped by his dad, and yet became the greatest dad in the world, became the vice president of a major corporation. He just achieved a lot, and he never missed a thing with me as a kid. Like, never, in the middle of all that, never missed a thing. So he's an amazing man.
Okay, that's I can't wait to hear what my kids say about me later on. Hopefully all good things, like Olaf says. See, now you got me on this Disney Frozen. I'm going to be quoting quotables from Disney now the rest of this episode. Damn you. Awesome. Anyway, what is your favorite summer activity?
Oh, my favorite. I love going to Lake Tahoe, California, and being on the lake. I don't get to do it enough, but I love that.
Never been. All right, so now I know where to go.
Yeah.
If a movie was made of your life, what genre would it be, and who would play you? Come on, drama. You got to have this one.
Okay, I want it to be Denzel. I don't know if he would do it. It's more likely.
It would be stretching. I mean, he might get an award for this, Think of Robert Downey Jr. in that one movie, It could work.
Exactly. No, it'd probably be like a comedy or a tragedy comedy mix. And I think the person who would end up playing me was probably Jim Carrey, unfortunately.
He's pretty good, man. He hasn't made a bad movie in a long time.
He hasn't, and he's got the facial stuff going, so it works.
So I know you're all about your health, but if you could be any flavor of ice cream, what ice cream flavor would you be and why?
Oh, okay. So I'd be mint chocolate chip because I love it, but also because it's got a little bit of bite to it because it's got that cool, refreshing. It's cool and refreshing, and hopefully I do that with people. But at the same time, there's some chunky stuff that can get stuck between your teeth, and that can be a little uncomfortable. And that's me too.
Yeah, you make people uncomfortable in their teeth, huh? All right. What's your favorite cartoon character and why?
Oh, I've always loved Goofy. I just love him. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He just likes to be himself. He's just like he's just happy. He does not let stress does not hit Goofy, and I admire that about that cartoon character. As a matter of fact, went on a Disney cruise a couple years ago, and all I cared about was getting a picture with Goofy. And so, like,
And he's a pretty good dad too, actually. Like
a
if you watch
great
the cartoon, he's probably the best dad cartoon example. You know, with Homer Simpson and American Dad and all the other ones that they're kind of like.
no. Goofy was always with his
Goofy was always pure.
yeah, and he's always like encouraging kids to he was in there playing with the kids and then encouraging them to create and do things. He's a great dad.
That's a good pick. All right, so what's your superpower? What do you think you're best at?
I am great at finding ways to connect with anyone. And I think that is a superpower in today's age where people are so busy, where people are so caught up in their own drama. Being able to break through and actually connect with someone and make them feel comfortable and create that rapport, I think that's a superpower.
Well, damn, you were a professional at it for a lot of years. I mean, I don't know if you even put those two things together, but if you're talking people off a bridge and making people laugh about your exploits in Clubhouse, and I could see that. I could see that.
Cool.
All right. So, what are three things that you love to do? Your hobbies or just passions, that kind of stuff.
So I actually do love to cook, although I maybe a health food guy. I actually really love to cook. I like to take comfort foods and make them healthy. So I just like to cook, though. I'm a foodie. I love to like smoke stuff on the barbecue. That's my jam. Number two, I love, and this is recent because I didn't realize how much I was missing out. I love long dates with my wife, like long, just full days. Like I don't care if we start at the grocery store and end at dinner. I just love a long date with my wife. And then number three, another new passion, things that I'm loving bike riding and going out with my boy. He rides his longboard skateboard. See, you can tell I'm from the West Coast, right? So it's like but he's got this longboard skateboard that he just got for Christmas. And the two of us have been just riding all over town, me on my bike and him on a skateboard. And it is a blast.
One of the best experiences I had in my life was riding on the coast from Santa Monica Pier up and down. And I'm not big into bike riding, but that ride was epic in my head because you can go all the way to Venice and all the way up, and then you could come all the way down. And it's just like you could be a whole day. And you got all that view. You got the ocean and the mountains, and you're just like up and down and up and down. It's probably one of the most peaceful experiences of my life. And the reason I was there for the one time was I was actually a finalist for Survivor Africa. So I was secluded from all these people, and they wouldn't let us they would not let us meet any of the other people in the hotel or around there. So you had to actually go off by yourself, and they would watch you that you didn't like congregate with anybody. So that week I basically was by myself, and I had to be by myself. So I would just find all these things to do by myself that were kind of cool. And that was one of my favorites. So that's cool.
And now we have a whole nother conversation. I know we don't have time, but
yeah. When I get on someone else's podcast, they can ask me about that whole thing.
yeah, absolutely. And then we can, again, going back to our like conversations, we can now do a thing where it's like reality show rehab, and then like just overcoming the not getting on the show. Like that's a good.
I was almost on two of them, so I got yeah, but almost don't count. Like, what is that? So anyway, what are three things that annoy you, or they're like your pet peeves? Like you just like.
Yeah, I am really irritated by irresponsibility. And what I mean by irresponsibility is not making a mental or physical mistake, but refusing to own it. Like people who don't own their mistakes frustrate me. Victim mentality, that just really frustrates me. And then I hate taxes. I just hate tax season. I dread it. I have this fear of being audited, and yet I don't ever want to lose a receipt, and I hate taxes. Just hate taxes in general. And then the third thing that irritates me is people talking during movies. Like, I just watched the movie. For the love of God, would you just watch the movie? Which is a funny story because I gave my son pretty much a panic attack in the movie theater when I decided to go down and just ask a gentleman to stay off his phone because he was distracting me, because I just hate when people interrupt movies. So can you tell I don't like that? That was pretty clear, right?
Yeah. Well, that's with COVID, the blessing is that they're not really packed anymore and there's not that many people in there. So to be honest with you, I've been quite a few times and I was loving it. Felt like I had my own theater.
Oh, you're so lucky. We can't even go to the theater. The only theater I have is my house.
Well, you could always drive to Florida or Texas or somewhere else. All right, we're gonna get off that. All right, so what's your kryptonite, like your biggest weakness, or whatever the thing you might struggle with the most? And this could be, I mean, you sound like you got it pretty together with the dadhood part. It could be something else, or it could be, just that part. What do you struggle with, though?
I care too much what you think. That has been. I don't think anyone who says they really don't care what people think, I think they're not as connected to their own emotions as they realize. I don't think that's possible to completely not care, but I care too much, and it has held me back at times because I won't take a step out of fear of what someone else thinks. I won't speak my mind at times out of fear of what someone else thinks, and so I just care too much. And when you care too much about what everyone thinks, you start to forget what you actually think. And so that is definitely a kryptonite of mine that I'm constantly having to battle.
So, yeah, I get that's a hard one because I see both sides of it, but ultimately, like, especially if you're trying to grow in a way that people don't understand, and you can't always elaborate how or why it's important to you, that's when you got to get into the I don't care mode and kind of blinders or shut them out. You don't have to say it, but what's that phrase? Nod, smile, agree with them, and then go and do what the hell you want, like that kind of thing. Like you could just be that guy, right? So,
and I can't pay my bills with your opinions.
Exactly.
So I have to learn that, and I'm constantly just battling that.
So what's your best piece of dad advice that you would give to, I mean, anybody? We are dads here, we're entrepreneurs, we're juggling stuff. Some of us have more kids than others, like myself. Others, they might be single dads and just one is unmanageable, let alone two or three. So numbers don't really matter. It's really the support around you. But how do you, like I said, a dad hack, some kind of tip you would give a father that was, we had a lot, it's funny, we had a lot of good ones today on our Clubhouse. Maybe one of those, I don't know, but something that you like to share with people.
Absolutely. So, man, I've got so many that I've learned from my mentors, and I'm blessed to have two really great kids. I don't take the credit, but they're really great. And so I'm going to spitfire one, and if you let me, I'll give you two. The first one is learn to distinguish early between childish behavior and rebellious behavior or disrespectful behavior. Because oftentimes as dads, we see the behavior. We don't understand that. We don't necessarily see the motive behind it. And sometimes things are just childish behavior that need to be instructed, whereas rebellious behavior needs to be disciplined. And I don't mean punished, I mean disciplined. So when we can go, hold on a second, is he just being a kid right now that just needs a little instruction? Because that can solve a lot of heartache for both you and your child.
So I'm Latino and we're hot-blooded, so it's really hard to pause when you think that you need to backhand someone real quick for a fresh mouth. And I'm just curious as to how you've stopped yourself from reacting. Is it like you just take a breath, or you think, or you count to 10? Or like what is that magic pause button that you pull out in the heat of the battle, so to speak?
Yeah. So you gave me entry into number two. And that is teach your children value mantras early. And so one of the values that we teach our kids and one of the mantras we teach our kids is we say from the time they were very little, when do we listen? And if you were to ask my 17-and-a-half-year-old, he's almost 18, if I were to walk in the other room right now and go, hey, Cameron, when do we listen? He would not miss a beat. And he would say, on the first time, Dad, on the first time. So knowing that I teach my kids that when I see a behavior, whether it's rebellious or
I'm writing this down. Keep talking.
Yeah, whether it's rebellious or disrespectful, and I go to correct that behavior. If it's not changed, I'm very quick to be like, hey, when do we listen again? On the first time, Dad. Okay, I'm on it. I'll do it. But then we always teach them the another mantra is yes, and, or yes, but. So it would be like, yes, I'll do that. And when I'm done, can we talk about this? So we listen and we respond to our parents right away, but then discussion is available afterwards. So teach them mantras and values. What are one things Nixes never do? Nixes never lie. What's something else that Nixes never do? Nixes never give up. We never quit. Those are all mantras that we have taught our kids that are values for them. And they repeat them constantly if ever I ask them. When they leave the house, I'll ask my son, hey, what do you need to never forget? Remember who I am. I'm a Nix. So like they take that with them. They carry their name. So that would be the thing. And then something I actually teach across the board to all my clients is something that we've learned called stop, challenge, choose. So before I make any decision, I have to let because what you're talking about with that Latino is actually the amygdala. And it's that amygdala hijack, that thing that it doesn't think, it just reacts. It's the same thing that causes us to have road rage. It's actually the same thing that causes us to overeat emotionally. It's this survival thing. It's fight, it's flight, it's freeze. And when the amygdala goes into overdrive, it's just there to protect you and your ego, because we don't need protection for our survival. So what we teach is stop, pause for just, no matter what it's about to be. If it's emotional, just pause, because that allows your thinking brain, not your amygdala brain, but your thinking brain to catch up. And as your thinking brain catches up, your amygdala calms down. So we stop, we challenge ourselves and say, how do I want to respond to this situation? What's going on here? And then I make a choice. Do I backhand in this situation, or do I have a conversation in this situation? I'm not going to say that there's times that the backhand is necessary, but so that's how I would encourage everyone to give your amygdala a chance to cool down and your thinking brain a chance to get it on top.
So when the next time you have one of those problems, it's not my machismo, it's my amygdala.
Yeah, you can actually blame biology. Don't blame culture anymore.
That I really dig that. Why do we listen the first time? One I caught from another dad was, I love you, tell me why. And the core of it is because when you say I love you, there's kind of like nothing there. But if you if you ask the question, they'll tell you the good things about themselves of why you love them, and it's kind of a positive reinforcement, so that they know they're kind and they're sharing and they take care of their sister. And I really like I like that one a lot too. So that was one of my favorites. Yes. So as a dad, where do you find yourself being challenged the most? Are you past that point? Because they're old.
Yeah, right. I just actually posted this the other day on Instagram that when you're it's all about holding. So when you have babies, you're learning to hold them. And when you have young men, it's learning to let them go. And it's always a challenge, right? It's always a challenge. And so I think where I'm at in my journey as a father is that transition from every young man. I have two boys, right? So every young man is waiting for that head nod that says, you've got this. I was waiting for it. You waited for it. Somebody along the line, hopefully a father, said at some point in some way, like, you've got this. You're man enough to handle this. As a man who's getting ready to send someone off to college, I am struggling with the transition of letting go of control and allowing him to make his own mistakes, but also ensuring him that he's man enough, that he's got this. He can handle, he's been trained, he's been raised, he can do this. So he's not alone, but he's also able to do it alone. And that's I'm in that transition. It's one of the most difficult things in the world for me, is to kind of bless and release him into living that man life.
Is there, bear with me with this one. Is there some dad stereotype that you may have heard that is that irks, well, not irks you, but that's totally not you? For example, I am not Mr. Grill Master. Don't put me on the grill. I'm not going to burn anything. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not that guy. You might be, because you love to cook, but whether it be Mr. Handy, Mr. Fix It, what's one of those stereotypes that if the dad stereotypes is I'm the opposite of that. What, you got one of those?
Oh yeah, I I am Mr. Hire It Out. I am not Mr. Handyman, dude. I am outsourced. I'm the outsource king. I don't fix anything in my house. If I do, then more things are broken. I was so excited yesterday because we have one of those retractable screen doors so that we can just have open doors all the time. And the little handles come. I was pumped because I stuck a screwdriver in, tightened it down, and it stayed. It was like a win. So I am not. There's a lot of things that I am not stereotypical dad about. Like I said, you've heard me say I cry all the time. Most guys are like, dudes aren't supposed to cry. I am not handy at all, and I like to be in the kitchen. So you can pick it. I am all the things that are not what most guys think dads are.
I mean, we live in a different world now. I think, especially with COVID, things got totally reversed. I was home and she was more essential worker because I was off, and all these things, and I was just like, Mr. Mom, call me that, because that's what I was for like 6 months. And God bless them. I definitely respect what they do, because I wasn't great at it. I will say that. So how do you want to leave your mark on the world? What do you want your legacy to be? Just, with all this, with your entrepreneurship, with your family raising, what's the big, if you could, just what kind of mark do you want to leave?
I do want to leave a legacy of whoever comes in my path, that has come in my path. I want them to feel encouraged and empowered having been around me, that they will feel better about them and they will feel lifted having been around me. And that matters a ton to me. As someone who didn't always feel that way growing up around other men, I want to be the guy that's like, when they walk away, they go, man, if there's anybody that believes in me, that guy does.
And is that something you're, with what you're doing with health, part of it? Like, that's part of the core value that you have you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. So, well, we can talk about it for sure. I mean, one of the things that I believe as a coach in general is that people have the answers within themselves. It's not my job to tell them as a coach. It's my job for them to discover, to have awareness, because in anything you're doing, it's a common saying, but I'll say it as I've always said, in anything you're doing, awareness brings choice. So one of the things that we do when we're coaching people towards their dreams, their life, their health, their finance, whatever healthy looks like, is helping them become aware, and then helping them see that awareness gives them the choice to pursue and change and become. And my job is just to believe them, and then to ask the right questions so that they can discover what it is that's been holding them back, and discover that they actually have the ability within them. So yeah, it's a huge part of what we do.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you about your coaching and your nutrition plan, and so would you call that a wellness coach, a dietitian? Like, how would you describe it?
I would say that I'm a health and wellness lifestyle coach.
Gotcha.
Because here's the thing: diets end, habits stay, weight comes back. So we don't deal in diets; we deal in habitual transformation. So yes, there's a nutrition component, and we work through that. So the best way would be, they can hit me up on Instagram, Jeremy Nix. They can go to jeremynix.com. And I do a health assessment they can fill out, and we can connect right there. And we can jump. And then I got stuff that I'll give people. And if you want to give people stuff, I got tons of stuff that I can just give away too.
Oh yeah. Like what, how will we do that? Well, I'm going to definitely put in somewhere in the notes here, a way to get in contact with you for the replay. But you said jeremynix.com. It would be a great way to get a hold of you, correct?
Yeah, jeremynix.com is like the easiest way. And and from there you can send me a text and I'll send you the stuff. It's that easy. All
right, so we're about to wrap this shindig up, and you know what comes next, right? You ready with you ready for this dad joke?
Bring it.
You got to bring it. It's
already been brought in. All right.
It's been brought in. Yeah. Oh, that's right. That was from that movie. All right. So hit it. Let's hear what you got.
All right. My kids hate this joke so much. That's why I know it's a good dad joke. Do you know why cemeteries are the most popular place in the world?
I heard this one before, but you take it, my man.
Because people are just dying to get in there. Bump.
Yeah. It's still good. It's still good for ages 7 and 8 and under. You know what I mean? It works. You just gotta know your audience. Some of these dad jokes. I did one today. I did a double take. He didn't get either one of them until later, but it was just kind of like, you know, it was just it was just a perfect lineup. I had to do it. So
I saw it. It made me laugh. My wife was like, "What?" I said, "That's because you're not a dad. You don't get it."
yeah, you gotta kind of replay it and be like, oh, okay, that's what that meant.
Yeah.
I had to take a shot. I took a shot. Took 2 shots. I mean, you know, let me live. Let me live.
Yeah,
All right, brother.
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so you got to take them.
Yeah. Eventually, someone will appreciate this, and you know, hopefully not you know before I die, but you know, Van Gogh, right? He got famous after, so there you go. All right. Well, it was great talking to you, and appreciate the time. I know it's late where you are, and yeah, man, we'll just keep connecting. JeremyNix.com. Want to hear more about transformation and wellness and weight loss, and stay in touch with this guy. We also do a dadpreneur talk on Clubhouse, and I think we're going to do that regularly Wednesdays. What is it, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard? I guess one your time.
Yeah, it's actually Thursdays. Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Cool. So if you guys want to tap in on that, you can meet us there too and get to talk with us. All right, Jeremy, I'm gonna move on to the next piece, but thank you for showing up, and I'm glad I met you in the Clubhouse Addicts Anonymous room on Sunday. That's where this all started. So take care, man. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Manners. Sorry, guys. I'm learning this new technology. So I got to put myself, there you go. That's a little bit better. So, guys, another long one. Hopefully it was fruitful. I'm going to take you out with a couple things. I wanted to, as my appreciation for all of you guys that stayed for the whole episode, as I mentioned before, I'm giving away a scholarship worth $2,000 to one of my mastermind groups. Now, if you don't know what mastermind groups are, you should go and pick up the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill right now and check that out. But in a nutshell, mastermind groups are small, intimate groups of very knowledgeable individuals. And yes, I'm reading this, who meet on a regular basis to discuss different topics, in this case, entrepreneurship and business development, and to help each other out. Each member of a mastermind usually has a unique sets of skill or level of experience that many others may not have, which is why as a collective it makes them a very effective and powerful group when you're trying to solve problems, grow your business, or even just simply level up your knowledge and your self-development. So if you're interested in something like that, give me a second. I'm going to put on some information for you to, there you go. If you're interested in checking out one of these masterminds experience or possibly winning one, text the word mastermind to 1-305-602-3632, and you'll be entered to win a 30-day scholarship, which I'll be doing a drawing for and giving away every 4th episode of this show. So dads, entrepreneurs, all you other sexy people, if you liked what you heard and want to make sure you're here every time we go live, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on the Dad Next Door YouTube channel, or follow me on Facebook. Catch me on LinkedIn or Clubhouse, or just keep stalking me the good old-fashioned way by checking in every once in a while, and it's all good. So that's it for me tonight, guys. Take care, comb your hair, and I'll see you on the next one. Daddy out. Daddy out eventually. All right, let's do it. There it is. Goodbye.